Neighbors jump into action as a home goes up in flames.
We ran across the street, kicked the door in, and broke the window out of the house.
Saving a little girl.
It's really scary.
Now firefighters are trying to figure out what started it all.
And as coronavirus cases rise, Colorado communities are taking action.
It's not about panicking. What's worked for us is to get ahead of it.
The city of Denver trying to avoid another shutdown.
And Broncos season ticket holders are waiting to find out if they'll be able to attend games.
For those who won't, the team has options for you.
Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us tonight for Denver7 News at 5. I'm Shannon Ogden.
And I'm Ann Trujillo. We have a lot to cover for you today. First of all, with just weeks to go, 4 metro area school districts have released plans for students to return to class safely this fall. Denver Public Schools, Douglas County, Jefferson County, Cherry Creek schools all offer in-person or online options. And for some, those plans include a later start date. Douglas County schools will delay to August 17th. DOUGCO schools will push back the start date to the 24th. And today, Aurora Public Schools announced it will also start 1 week later. And Denver Public Schools is considering delaying the start by 1 week or staggering start dates to limit the number of kids coming back at one time.
One of the reasons we're looking at a phased approach to reopening is so that kids have time in smaller groups to be able to learn the protocols, work through that, and see, how things are going to adjust with a smaller group of students than all kids coming back.
That's Mark Ferrandino with DPS. The risk factor for students is much lower compared to any other age group. According to the state, school-age children make up about 3,200 of the more than 38,000 cases in Colorado. Only 141 patients under the age of 20 landed in the hospital, and 3 of those cases turned deadly. Now, the larger concern here is spreading the virus to their families and teachers and staff who are much more vulnerable. Aurora Public Schools is teaming up with COVID Check Colorado to test all teachers every 2 weeks with rapid results. And while testing will help identify cases quickly to prevent outbreaks, CDC Director Dr. Robert Redfield says masks will be the main factor in the reopening of schools.
Face coverings are the key. If you really look at it, the data is really clear. They work. We're not defenseless against this virus.
Now, coming up on Denver7 at 6, Denver7 goes 360 on the return to school with perspectives from health experts, districts, teachers, and parents.
And statewide cases took another jump today, I'm afraid, an increase of 469 in the last 24 hours. The state also reported 6 more deaths among cases. Today, the number of patients hospitalized ticked down just a little bit to 368, 10 fewer than yesterday. Still, the curve shows we are trending up. The last time we had this many patients in the hospital at one time was early June. The Colorado Hospital Association says at least 3 hospitals anticipate staffing shortages in the next week, and at least 1 expects to be short on protective equipment and ICU beds. The group won't say which hospital it's talking about here. Well, Denver Mayor Michael Hancock has made a decision to slow down reopening due to a spike in these cases. The mayor is pushing pause on variance requests. Now, those of what have allowed restaurants to reopen to full capacity by expanding their outdoor seating. Denver7's Jessica Porter is live in the newsroom with just what this means for us going forward. Jess?
Well, the good news, the hundreds of restaurants and businesses who were already granted a variance to reopen can stay open. But any business or industry that was going to submit a variance in Denver won't be able to do so right now. Cities have been allowed to submit variances to the state to allow businesses to reopen beyond the governor's public health order. The Denver Zoo and Botanic Gardens, for example, both reopened through a variance that limited capacity. Restaurants were allowed to expand outdoor patios through a variance, and even some streets have been closed in Denver to accommodate safe outdoor dining. But COVID-19 rates have increased over the last 2 weeks from nearly 54 to 69%. And the mayor says it is time to slow down reopening.
But as we see patterns beginning to form, what's worked for us is to get ahead of it and to try to stay as proactive as possible. And I believe pausing these variances, or at least requests to the state at this point in time, gives us an opportunity to truly just focus on what we have in front of us and try to manage it and to reverse the trends.
The health department is also adding additional staff and will be stepping up mask enforcement at businesses. The city has responded to over 900 mask complaints, but has only issued 1 citation to Beta nightclub for violating the mask order. Now, you can be fined $999 for violating the mask order. In the newsroom, Jessica Porter, Denver7.
Now, testing has increased across our state in part thanks to the PEPSI Center site. Denver Mayor Hancock says since it opened, that site has conducted more than 50,000 tests. The city says Pepsi Center testing is expected to stay open through the end of July.
We have it set up till the end of the month. We are continuing our conversation with the state. The goal is to continue the Pepsi Center beyond the end of the month.
The city is also partnering to open 7 additional community testing sites and to continue mobile testing for people who cannot leave their homes.
And more cities now are starting the process to opt out of Tri-County Health's mask mandate. That rule affects all of Adams, Arapahoe, and Douglas counties starting July 24th, unless individual communities apply to opt out. And today, the town of Bennett voted to start that process. The city of Brighton also will opt out, but will reevaluate mask rules every couple of weeks. And Douglas County will opt out of the mask rule, and it plans to sever ties with Tri-County Health within the next year. Right now, commissioners are holding a virtual town hall, allowing residents to talk on this issue. About a dozen people are signed up to speak at the meeting yesterday, and every person opposed the county's decision on masks. And as more communities opt out of these mask rules, several grocery store chains announced requirements today, including King Soopers, Sam's Club, and Walmart.
An Arvada neighborhood is coping with loss tonight after a deadly fire takes 2 of their neighbors' lives early this morning. Denver7 Sean Toll is live in Arvada tonight, and Sean, firefighters still don't know how this started.
No, Ann, and it's likely going to be days before fire officials know what caused this house to go up in flames. They've been out here all day searching through the remains of what happened last night. If you take a closer look in here, you can see the remains of the house, which they are still sorting through, and even using this massive piece of construction equipment to kind of work their way through the debris. Now, one neighbor last told me that the fire was so hot this morning, they could feel it from their own front door when they went to see what was going on. This is what Joe Hood ran out to see just after 1 a.m. Wednesday morning.
It's just so intense. I mean, when I came out of the house, it sounded like a blowtorch or like when a rocket takes off.
The father of 8 knew the family that lived there well, and without thinking,
Me and my neighbor Jason down here, we ran across the street, kicked the door in, and broke the window out of the house. Adrenaline kicks in, and there you go. I mean, you do whatever you got to do.
Hood and his neighbor were able to rescue a young girl from the burning house.
And she was coughing up black soot out of her, mouth.
They tried to go back for the other 2 people in the home, but couldn't find them.
We're friends with them, and I mean, that hit home, and I mean, his kids, and I mean, they're just good kids. They're good people.
There were animals that were inside, numerous. I'm not sure how many, but many of them perished.
While fire officials sort through the rubble to figure out how this started, all those who live nearby can do is watch, try to process the loss of their 2 neighbors, and think about the young girl.
I came back over to my wife and kids, and then I broke down. Excuse me, it's just so tragic.
But even in this tragedy, signs of hope and heroism from across the street.
It was worth it. I'd do it all over again if it happened, to anyone else. We would hope it's a nightmare, and it's really not. It's happening. 2020 is a bad year as it is, and then on top of it, stuff like this happens to people every day, and it's horrible.
And back out here live, you can see investigators searching through the remains of the home, just doing their normal investigation. Now, fortunately, the fire only caused minor damage to the house directly behind it, and we've spoken to a lot of neighbors throughout the day, many very shaken up after what happened overnight, and likely will be for some time. Reporting live in Arvada, Sean Toll, Denver7.
Yeah, certainly a tragedy. Thank you, Sean. The Elephant Butte fire continues to burn in Evergreen, but firefighters continue to make progress there. It's now 60% contained. All evacuations have been lifted. All roads in the area are back open. Of course, Alderfer Three Sisters Park will remain closed, likely until the weekend.
The city of Denver is getting closer to setting up sanctioned camping sites for Denver's growing homeless population. These designated sites come in response to growing concerns over neighborhood encampments, especially the one outside Morey Middle School. The city's chosen one site. It is in the process of discussing it with neighbors and finalizing the contract. The mayor hopes to be able to announce the location of the city's sanctioned encampment in the next few days.
Well, it is a moment many Broncos fans have been waiting for. The team has finally announced its plan for fans in the stadium and how it will hand out any tickets made available.
All right, Denver7's Ivan Rodriguez. Actually, we don't have him, so we'll take a quick break.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
All right.